Okay, so it's 7:33. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got the 5 commissioners. So I'll call the meeting to order. We'll deal with Jerry's issue later as we need to. We'll start with citizen comments. Natalie, did you receive anything in advance?
No.
Okay. So anyone who is present right now who wants to speak, you can raise your hand, or you can they type in the chat box? They can't they?
Sure.
Okay. So it is open now to anyone who wants to speak.
Mike, would you like to say anything or?
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Michael Morell. I go by Mick. I grew up in Ridgeville. Let's see. I grew up on Cleveland Street between Ridge and Asbury. Went to ETHS. Martha, I was George's year. George and I were buddies.
Okay.
You were a couple years older than me, but I remember you from high school as well. But I keep in touch with George on Instagram every once in a while too. I know he's out west, but yeah, so we were buddies in high school. I just moved over to South Boulevard, kitty corner, pretty much from the main Ridgeville house. I spoke with Pat at the Halloween event. I understand there's going to be a vacancy coming up. I might be interested. So I was just coming on tonight, just kind of wanted to see what all it entailed. And yeah, so I'm a firefighter here in Evanston. I'm on our executive board. My wife is a teacher at ETHS. So we love this community. Again, I've lived in the Ridgeville community for over 30 years. I love it here. My dad briefly served on the board for like a few months at one point years ago. So yeah, happy to meet everybody. Hello. That's all I've got. So thank you.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Mick. All right. I don't see anybody else present. And Brian, I don't know if you want to change it, but it does say Lois on your screen. Not a big deal.
It's what?
It says
Lois.
Lois.
Yeah. She's my better half, so don't worry about it.
Yeah. I was just looking through to see if anyone else was here for citizen comments, so that made me see your name. Oh, Dr. Effiam is here now. Still connecting. Okay, so
Brian.
What's that?
I changed Brian to Brian.
Oh, you did? Okay. I didn't know you could do that, Natalie. Okay, if there are no other citizen comments, we will go ahead with the agenda here. So we'd move on to approving the minutes from the October 8th, 2020 meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of October 8th.
I second it. It's Coyne.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Just a point of order. Do we need to identify ourselves before we make a motion or vote?
The governor's recommendations from when this all started were that commissioners should announce themselves when they are voting. Yes.
So I understood that was McCourt. I just want to make sure that people can't see us know who's voting. That's all.
Everybody should announce themselves when they speak. And votes need to be roll call. But obviously, if you just announce your name and everybody's recorded, that's fine.
Martha?
Yes.
May I say something? This is Natalie Salee.
Yes.
About the minutes, JC actually noticed this earlier today in the Ready Committee update portion on page 3 of 5. It says that the Ready meetings plan to go public starting in November. They plan to go public starting in January.
Okay, great. Thanks for that note. And so I assume we asked Julie to make that amendment. Yeah, I see you, Julie. Thank you. Does that mean that those are resubmitted next month, or can we just assume that correction is made?
You can make a motion to accept the minutes with the amendment and then do a roll call vote.
Okay.
Or to make make a motion to accept the minutes with that adjustment.
And this is Coin. I second it.
Okay, all in favor? Oh, roll call vote, correct?
Roll
So
call.
Julie will do that.
Braun,
Aye.
Coin,
Yes.
Gaines,
Yes,
McCourt,
Yes.
and Mitchell.
Yes.
thanks, Julie. Moving on then to the approval of bills, and I'll turn it over to Brian to tell us about those.
Sure. Give me a second. Okay, I'll go over some of the unusuals. Chicago Tribune Media Group, that was the bid notice for the parking lot. As we go further down, we have Dr. Pat Effian's December 1st payment in the bills, $2,500. Is when it's due on December 1st. Hendrickson Fire Equipment Company, we had our fire extinguishers recharged. We usually do that in late summer, but due to COVID, they were shut down. So we just got it done. Language in Action is a Spanish class through our programs. Quadient, $100 in the stamp machine in the office. Natalie Salee is a reimbursement for some fall frenzy needs. Two Brothers Heating and Cooling is a new furnace in the basement of 908 Seward, $7,200. That heats the boiler. The boiler sends the water up to the radiators. It's quite a large system. That's why it's a little bit more expensive than you would assume for a home, but we're a very big house. And that's it for the unusuals.
I'll make a motion to approve the monthly bills for November in the amount of $23,895.76. This is Gaines.
It is Coin. I second it.
All in favor?
Aye. Oh, roll call, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Braun,
Yes.
Coin,
Yes.
Gaines,
Yes,
McCourt,
Yes.
Mitchell.
Yes.
Thank you.
okay, moving on to the petty cash, and I'll turn it over to Brian for that as well.
There are American Meadow seeds for planting in various spots of the Park District. Bill's Drive-In, we bought volunteers burgers for the fall frenzy. I think we had 4 or 5 volunteers, and we had 7 or 8 total people working, including the volunteers. CVS Pharmacy poster board, had to make some announcements for the election so people could see it from a distance. Election location changes. Kickstarter, I'm sorry, Sharon Heisen, she was an artist at the Fall Frenzy. Kickstarter Charms is an equity board game, which we'll use hopefully in camps. MailChimp, emails over 2,000. Meineke Gardens was Fall Frenzy decorations and pumpkins. I think we bought 44 pumpkins and we need probably 60 next year. Very successful event. Sam's Club, Fall Frenzy candy and some office supplies. Studio 9 Incorporated was a shipping charge for Kickstarter Charms. And then Maggie Weber, she was the band at the Fall Frenzy, $300.
I move to approve the petty cash in the amount of $1,290.56. Commissioner Mitchell.
Court seconds.
I have a question, Brian. You said Sharon Heisen is an artist at Fall Frenzy?
Yeah, she was the artist up near Seward Street.
Okay, what kind of artist?
Natalie, can you help me on that one?
She's a teaching artist. She led the art workshops with all the supplies up right off of Seward. When you walked in, those tables were set up where Sarah spent a lot of time. making
Okay, yeah, I that was a great activity. I didn't know her name though, so I didn't connect those dots. Just wondering about that. Is that something we've done before? Worked with her like for art activities?
No, I haven't, but she said that she had done some workshops with Richville many years ago. But she lives in the neighborhood, and she had approached me at one of the concerts this summer and asked if she could get involved somehow. So I reached out to her when we were putting the Fall Frenzy together, and she was interested in doing the art workshop. So she joined us.
Cool. And was that all of her supplies then that she brought for those art activities?
Some were hers, some were supplies that we provided from our just stock upstairs.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions from anybody?
Nope.
Okay, I think we have the motion and second, so if we can roll call approval of petty cash.
Ron,
Yes.
Commissioner Coyle,
Yes.
Gaines,
Yes.
McCourt,
Yes.
Mitchell.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll move on then to monthly reports, and I'll turn it over to Brian first.
Okay. The past month, we interviewed several candidates. I believe 8 was the final number for accounts manager, office assistant position. As you know, we hired Abigail Lavelle. Abigail resides in the north side of Chicago, has a master's degree in social science. She has a variety of managing experiences, and most importantly, she is a good fit for the job's hours and requirements. She was a consensus pick of Natalie, Jerry, and myself after a second interview. Congratulations to Abigail. We'll miss Jessica as she has started her new full-time job. She's also on the, I believe, northwest side of Chicago working. The 2019-2020 audit is progressing well. We'll have it on the December agenda. Treasurer Gibbs will give you a further update. Also in December, we'll pass the 2020-2021 levy ordinance, not Levi ordinance, but levy ordinance. Misspelled there. Anyways, the maintenance crew has been busy with garden cleanup, grinding leaves, and more painting at 908 Seward. They also put 2 new doors on the Garage Art Studio. Beautiful job by Ruben and Marcos. We'll set up the ice rink in late November. As of now, we're looking at Tuesday, I believe it's the 24th, or early December as weather permits, but I think we're going to go with November 24th. As you probably know, the 908 Seward driveway will be done in the spring of 2021. The furnace at 908 Seward was replaced. You just paid that bill. It was beyond repair. Natalie and I have been discussing how we'll operate the summer programs if COVID-19 continues to restrict us. And as of today, it looks like it's headed that way. We will have that information for you in December, but based on physical indoor space, our capacity for camps will be reduced. In the past several weeks, I've had meetings and discussions with the Ridgeville ramp crew, Juan Jarakaris, Commissioner Mitchell, and others regarding the East Court at Ridgeville Park that is currently being used as a skate area. We also had a Zoom meeting on October 29th. We discussed the future of the area. The crew had several ideas concerning the area's future. We also discussed the process and how these discussions or decisions would be made. We agreed that the homemade equipment would be removed by the owners by November 12th, and I believe it is gone as I speak. The question arises as to what Ridgeville Park District sees the future of this space to be. Issues and concerns regarding this area are court usage, shared usage, hours of usage, the amount of equipment on the court, when to repair the court as it's planned for in the 2020-2021 budget, insurance exposures, and neighborhood input. So far, it's been pretty much a one-way street for people that are pro skate area, haven't heard or haven't given the neighborhood their chance. For your convenience, I have attached the email I sent to you all on October 28th regarding this topic. It's attached to your report.
Anybody have any questions for Brian?
So Abigail started already, Brian?
Set?
Abigail started already?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Did Abigail start already?
Yeah,
Like
Abby,
participant?
Abby's like her 5th or 6th day, yes.
Okay,
She's doing fine. She did the bills and the petty cash, so she's right on track. She'll do payroll Monday and Tuesday. Those are the big 3 things for that job. And she's started out very well.
Brian, I just have a question for you. Since this is part of your report, I'm just wondering if anything sticks out significantly from that skate meeting that you were a part of as to next steps, or is it all just sort of still in discussion?
No, a few things that stood out. They're way ahead of us in terms of what they'd like to see happen. But I explained to them, and Matt backed me up, that there's a process and it'll go through the board. All those decisions are board level decisions. So I think our next step is to get feedback from the local neighbors and see how they feel about it, and then start making some decisions on what to do with the court, how to resurface it, when to resurface it, and what we're going to allow in terms of skating area. Because as you do know, in the email I attached, we do use that court for camps. So we have to assume that COVID will be subsiding, hopefully, and we'll have many kids in camp. And then that court is used for kickball, hopscotch, foursquare, a variety of games that the kids play. The more time we're outside, the better, especially with COVID. So we're going to need that court, obviously, in the summer of 2021 to be shared at minimum. And that was all explained.
And I understand, I think you said this already, that the equipment's been removed at this point, right? Everything?
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you, Brian. Anybody else have any questions for Brian? All righty. We will move on then to Jerry's report.
Okay. The auditors provided a draft of their audit findings in the annual report on October 15th, which was about a month earlier than we typically see it in usually mid-November. Kate from Sikich and I had a 90-minute conference call on October 26th to discuss questions and resolve discrepancies between the auditor's report and the district's records. The 2 key broad areas of discussion concern the tracking of accrued accounts payable items for June and July because they had an unusually large number of adjustments around that area. And we had a lengthy discussion about a revised methodology for splitting the lump sum tax receipts that we get from Cook County amongst the funds. They changed the methodology that they want us to use this year to their purpose in doing it was to better reflect the effects of the PTEL reductions when they occur. At the end of the discussion, we agreed that I was going to apply most of the adjustments in the audit findings and that Kate was going to apply one $250 adjustment to the annual report. So I was awaiting a second draft that's revised to reflect that. I have not gotten that yet, but I anticipate once we get that, I will be able to approve it because everything else checks out okay on it at this point. Also, in order to finalize the report for the board meeting, we have to update the management discussion and analysis letter. Brian and I typically work on that together. He handles updating information about the operations of the district. I update the financial information in it. The auditors did indicate that this year we have to put some specific verbiage in to discuss the effects of COVID-19 on the district's operations. They'll provide us a template copy to work from when they give us the final draft. Not having gotten that draft for a couple of weeks, and I thought it was going to be pretty quick to come, I sent an email on November 6th to Kate, but I have not had an answer to it yet. So I don't know whether she's just really that busy or on vacation or something else going on, but I'll give her a little more time and then nag her again. In any event, I would anticipate we're going to have everything in time for the November board meeting, December board meeting at this point, which would be our typical schedule most years, last year having been the exception. If there's anything that's been asked of, they don't share with me what's been asked and what they're seeking and what they're looking at. But if any of you have, among the staff and commissioners, have been asked to provide information to Sikich and you have not yet done it, I would urge you to give priority to getting that to them so that there's no delay in getting the audit results in the annual report. And as Brian noted, Abby stepped into Jessica's shoes. She's been very quickly learning the ropes. I spent some time with her and in helping her get acquainted with the duties of the position. And I also participated with Brian and Natalie in the second interview process of all of the finalists that Natalie and Brian had come up with for the position. As far as regular monthly reports, I have none at this time. The general ledger for the new year hasn't been fully opened yet. Now that I've seen a draft, I have been able to begin the work, and the process is underway, but I haven't had enough time to complete the process of opening up the new year and posting the first few months of the year. So at December's board meeting, you should have a full set of reports through October 31st for sure, and possibly November 30th, as well as the annual statement of receipts and disbursements that state law mandates we produce. So I've had a lot of activity going on financially, but nothing tangible or visible for you to see. That's my report.
Hey, Martha, can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
Jerry did a wonderful job helping Abby. Jerry also has a great way of making people relax. I don't know if that's taught at a course at Northwestern or is just his personality, but at any rate, he was a big help. I just wanted to make sure you guys knew that.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Jerry, as well. I have a couple questions. I'm just confused by that application of a one-time $250 adjustment to the annual report. Can you just say where that is coming from?
The auditors handled, it comes down to how we accrue certain expenses at year end. The auditors advanced that as an accrual to be paid because we actually paid the money it came out of our accounts at the end of June, but it was approved on the July bills report. Because the money came out of our account at the end of June, we had to account for it in last year's books, not in the current year's books, and treat it as an accounts payable from the reference point of last year. The auditors had treated it as an accounts payable, thinking that it had come out of our accounts in July. So once we were able to hone in on the fact that the money had actually come out of our accounts in June, they agreed with the way we handled it.
Okay.
But in their audit, they had done it the other way. So they had to do a minor adjustment for that. And that's kind of the whole accounts payable discussion that we have at year end. They go through the July and August bills the way we go through the bills. They identify, here's the ones that were in June. Here's the ones that were really for July. Then when did the money get paid? And hopefully we come to the same number and the same agreement on how we saw each of the invoices. Some of the invoices have a little bit of interpretation going on because maybe it's a 30-month bill and 15 of the days are in one month and 16 of the days are in the other month. And now which month do we pay and recognize that expenditure in? So every year we have a handful of items we end up having a discussion over and having to do this sort of thing. So it's kind of a typical thing. The one thing that was a little atypical this year, and you'll see it at some point just because the findings haven't been released yet, I had made an error on my end in how some of the accrual, a couple of the appropriations categories didn't get posted to. Instead, the money got posted into the accruals and reversed out of the accruals without ever getting into the appropriations accounts. And they had discovered that error and corrected it in the audit. I didn't understand what they had done because it seemed to me I had done everything right. So we had a bigger than usual discussion over that until they were able to trace through the transactions with me and show me what it was they were correcting for. And of course, the minute I saw it, I was like, oh, got it. Got it. You're right. I'll adjust my side. So it's good that they look at things because there's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
We don't move them all the right way at the same time.
Right. I just
Now,
wanted
the
to,
overall dollar magnitude of all of the adjustments is only, like even on the tax business, where we're spreading it differently among the funds, we're not talking big dollars here. I mean, they are big dollars, but in the totality of the district, they're not big dollars. What I think the biggest that the adjustments got to is maybe a couple $1,000s. So, we're talking lots of little $200 and $10 and $20 type of entries.
okay. So it sounds like we are ahead of normal schedule, which is great given what happened last year.
We absolutely were. We're starting to, with the delay of getting the second draft, we're starting to track closer to a normal year. So if they get that second draft to me in the next week, and we can get the MD&A letter going, we will be kind of real solidly on track where we normally are. If it drags out much longer than that, we might drift a little behind schedule. But as long as we get it done by the December meeting, we'll be totally right on track. And I don't know why we wouldn't.
Thanks for noting that
Yeah.
that particular email went unanswered. That in a normal year and without the history we had with them last year, it obviously wouldn't be worth noting. But I appreciate that you're on top of that, and we should probably press them a little bit harder than we otherwise would, just to avoid what happened last year. Okay. Anybody else have any questions for Jerry? Pat?
So you mentioned that reminder that we needed to send that letter back to Sikich. You said that last month. Do you know that any of us have not done that yet? I know I've done it, but has everybody done it?
Yeah, no, I don't know, because they don't share with me what they've sent out and asked, and they don't tell me what's in and what isn't. But I'm just trying to wonder, why are they not pushing us? I mean, normally they would be pushing us. Where's our MD&A letter? Where's our this? Where's our that? Where's our final approval of the draft? The fact that they're not nagging me for the final approval of the draft makes me wonder what's going on. And then that she's not responsive to the email has me further wondering, why isn't there more urgency about just wrapping this up? And I was wondering if it could be part of the reason is they're still waiting for parties they've asked to provide them information, to provide that information before they can get to the point that they're putting the pressure on us for the approval and the MD&A.
Well, let me just ask then, all the commissioners, have all the commissioners responded to that letter? Do you know what we're referring to, what Jerry's referring to?
Yes, I'll double check, because last year I got no response when I sent it in. And so, I just didn't know for sure if they had received it. So I realized that's the case again this year. I don't know if they got it from me. So I'll double check and send mine again.
Okay.
Yeah,
This is Coyne. I don't recall receiving a letter.
I got an email, and it came on Friday, September 18th from Dawn Taylor at Sikich. And I did respond.
Okay. Did you search, Dan, to see if that's in your email?
I certainly will.
Thank you.
Debbie, did you get one?
Debbie, you're on mute. It looked like you were
I
nodding.
did, and I sent it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, hopefully, if that's the delay, then when all the commissioners get it in, hopefully that will resolve that delay, if it's the cause of the delay. Any other questions for Jerry?
No.
Okay. Thank you, Jerry, for your report. We'll move on then to the report from Natalie.
Mm-hmm. This month, we're celebrating Native American Heritage Month with a reading of The Roundhouse by Louise Erdrich. The discussion will be held on Zoom on November 29th. Fall Frenzy was on October 15th. We did it outdoors this year. We had a concert. We did some pumpkin painting. We had the art workshop and a candy hunt. I had volunteers come and dress as different characters and stay in different places at the park, and created like a little scavenger hunt sheet for kids to find them to get candy. It was a gorgeous day. Tons of folks came. It ended up being a really cool event. So thank you to everybody who participated. The gardens, Catherine Egan has done a great job with her volunteers this fall to keep the gardens looking beautiful and productive. They're starting to wrap up the season and they're planting some cover crops and cleaning up a bit. Abby Schumacher also did a great job with the Garden to Table folks this year. They're also wrapping up their season and getting the beds ready for winter. Studio 908 fall session. Classes continue to go well. We still have some folks coming to start classes and we're prorating them. The current session will take off the week of Thanksgiving, but then will run through December 12th. The winter session will begin in mid-January and registration will open about a month prior. We're keeping a close eye on COVID guidelines right now. Things are starting to change a bit. So if we have to make any calls, we're prepared to do that. And I'll keep everybody posted as that unfolds. District 65 enrichment classes, JC Herman is still working with the D65 kids and doing a great job. We're gearing up for the next session. We're hoping to get a little bit more registration for those classes. We're going to continue to offer those online classes for free to the students. So I will keep you posted on how that goes. Winter camps, as of now, we do not plan to offer any in-person winter camps at the park. We might do some online activities during the winter break, but those are still in the brainstorming phase. As that develops as well, I will give you an update next month in December.
Awesome. Thank you, Natalie. Any questions or comments from anybody?
If any of you are Pokemon aficionados, please let me know or send them my way for some winter activities.
I'm amazed that people are still into Pokemon because my brother and sister were kind of into it when we were kids. And
It is
staying
unreal.
power.
This is all the kids want to do, and I'm trying so hard to give to them.
Hey, Fall Frenzy was a great time. Thank you for doing that. My family had a blast there.
Oh, thanks so much. Thank you.
Okay, so thanks again, Natalie. We're going to move on then to the update from the Ready Committee, and there is JC. I'll turn it over to her.
Hi there. I just real fast, any Pokemon people, seriously send them to Natalie, because in the District 65 enrichments, that's all they want to do and talk about. And I know nothing and I refuse to learn. So, but in terms of the Racial Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Committee, we spent the last month combing over the details of Dr. Effiam's report. We paid particular attention to the police records associated with the Ridgeville Parks. And although we have begun an informal discussion on the recommendations that she's made, our next step will be to closely review them, prioritize them, and draft an organizational equity statement, as well as a charter to guide our work moving forward.
Thank you, JC. Anybody have any questions about the Ready Committee? Yes, Dr. Effiam.
I just want to comment that to the board that what you see with JC is the handing off of the power from the consultant to the team preparing themselves to take over and be able to handle all of these things. So good job, JC. You did it tonight.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, JC.
You're welcome.
All right. We're moving on then to the old business section of the agenda for tonight. The first point there is for action, discuss amendments to the general ordinance of the Ridgeville Park District, section 6.14 and 6.21 from Mitchell. I was preparing to table all non-essential business tonight at the governor's recommendation. It's ongoing. Everyone's probably familiar with this because we have been doing this every meeting since the pandemic hit. So item by item, you know, as I deem them non-essential business, I'm going to make that motion. We can then vote on whether we're tabling it or whether we're moving on with it. So Gaines moves to table point A of old business.
I'll second it. McCourt.
Okay, and Julie, if you don't mind, roll call.
I'd like to open that up for discussion.
Oh, open up discussion of tabling the item?
Yes.
Sure.
I don't think we should table the item. This is the 14th month in a row that this has been on our agenda. I've worked very hard on getting a comprehensive policy and ordinance and direction to the executive director. I have a 3-point plan I would like to introduce and vote on tonight. Right now, there is a difference between our policy and our ordinance. I think that can be essential business to clarify our ordinance and policy. The work is done. I don't know that we have the votes to do this, but I think we can vote on it tonight. And if it doesn't pass, then other folks who have different ideas are certainly welcome to bring those ideas forth. But we've talked about this literally for 14 months. I have a proposal. I don't have much discussion on it on the record. So I'd like to not table this and vote on it tonight.
This is Coyne. I concur.
Any other discussion? Okay, so it sounds like the discussion has taken place, and if you would roll call for us, Julie, please.
Commissioner Braun? Commissioner Braun, this is for tabling the motion or a motion
I'm
to.
sorry, I didn't realize I was muted. Yes, to tabling it.
Yes, okay. Coyne,
No.
Gaines,
Yes.
McCourt,
Yes.
Mitchell.
No.
Thanks, Julie.
Mhm.
The next item, again, on the same basis that the governor has recommended that we table all non-essential business, and given that we, I don't think we have any new info either. Mitchell can correct me there if we have discussion on tabling this, but I move to table point B, which is discuss update on policies inspired by the IAPD's self-assessment.
Second.
Was that McCourt?
Oh, yes, sorry.
Thanks.
Is there any discussion around tabling point B of old business?
Yeah, I would like to discuss it. I don't have a problem tabling most of this. When we got into it was right before COVID. The one thing that has come up recently in the skate park is instituting a social media policy. And I'd just like to hear from Natalie. It just came up that there was some social media chatter about the skating at Ridgeville that had some negative things. Natalie responded appropriately, asked people to reach out to her. It seemed like we talked to everybody who was involved, but I would like to have a social media policy.
Okay, I'm confused. That's pretty off topic from the discussion of tabling this particular item. Are you saying that a social media policy as part of the IAPD self-assessment is something you'd like to discuss when we get to that agenda item?
No, so that is part of the agenda item. That's part of the policies that came out of the self-assessment that Brian and Natalie asked the board to do. I'm saying I think that's essential. I think we should do that. Not tonight, but I think we should do that in general as essential business.
Okay, it was my understanding that the IAPD self-assessment tool, which we of course directed Brian and Natalie to use in a limited way, where they weren't going into full detail for each item, but just answering yes or no or something along those lines. We have, as of yet, never heard the comprehensive result of that process because of COVID interrupting us. Is that correct? Or am I remembering that wrong?
That's incorrect.
So we did go over their answers to that?
Yes.
Okay, and where did that end up after that point then?
Natalie and Brian made suggestions for policy changes or, things that the board should work on. Primarily, from my recollection and my conversations, primarily the most important was having a social media policy.
Okay, and I know we did discuss that because,
and then just also that having a policy regarding scholarships. And so again, I think that could be deemed essential moving into our next couple months.
okay, and on at least those 2 points, did you actually come prepared to this meeting to discuss that, or has anyone done any work since we last spoke on those, putting anything together for scholarships or social media policy?
Yes, I've done work on both of those. I don't have anything prepared for action tonight, but this is the first time that you have moved to table things that my agenda items. So I just want to clarify that I don't think that what's listed as 7B is necessarily non-essential.
Okay, we've actually tabled this exact item meeting after meeting after meeting.
Yes, I have, yeah. It's my agenda item.
Okay.
Usually I have something to present, and I'm saying right now, I think these 2 items can be deemed as essential going forward.
Okay, so I think when we are voting on whether we're tabling it or not, that is effectively answering the question by our votes, whether we think it's essential or not. And I'm kind of confused because if you have information relating to some of the subpoints of that self-assessment that we have previously talked about making some movement on, policy, et cetera, but you're saying tonight you're not prepared to speak additionally on those from whatever's been discussed before. So
see, I'm confused because this is the first time that you are tabling my agenda items without talking to me first. So I'm trying to clarify, 1, on the last agenda item, I do think this is essential and can get done. And then 2, you're tabling this again without any input from me or staff. And I'm saying that I think there are essential parts of 7B that we need to address going forward.
Okay, yeah, so if I'm hearing you correctly, when you tabled it, you thought it was non-essential, but when I'm tabling it, it's suddenly essential now? I'm just trying to understand what you're saying.
So this is my agenda item. I've never had anybody move to table my agenda item prior to me speaking on it.
Right, at the governor's recommendation, we're tabling non-essential business, and that's been our practice this entire time. I wasn't aware there was some importance to who tables it or doesn't.
Okay,
But
I would appreciate if you didn't move to table my agenda items.
Yes, Pat?
We're talking in circles. Matt, what do you want exactly? That we not table this and we put it off till next month, or?
I'm fine to table this tonight. I'm saying that going forward, I think we should make moves on what's listed as 7B and not have it tabled as a matter of course.
Okay, but it's in your court to give us that information, the social media policy and or the scholarship. So we've got something to discuss, or Natalie and Brian need to do that, right?
Yes.
Okay. Is Natalie and Brian aware of that?
Are you asking Natalie and Brian, or are you asking me?
I mean, are they in the loop on what you're trying to achieve?
Well, I'm inviting them. We've talked about it before, and I'm inviting them going forward. I think this should be deemed as essential business.
Matt, do you need something from Brian and I to put those policies together, or are you doing that?
I will work with you offline.
Okay.
So maybe can't you just put those 2 items on the next agenda, Matt?
Sure.
If we decide to table this, couldn't you have just put those 2 items on the next agenda as you see them as essential?
Sure. And I'm just saying that I'm putting it out there that I think this is essential business, and I don't appreciate Commissioner Gaines just moving to table it without discussing it.
Well, you are discussing it.
I know.
The discussion is after the motion is made and seconded, and you're discussing it. So I think we should call the question.
I agree.
Okay, so the motion on the table was whether or not we're tabling 7B, which we have perpetually tabled since the pandemic hit. I guess it remains to be seen what we're doing in the future with this item, but a motion has been made to table this. We've discussed. So Julie can roll call the vote for us, please.
Commissioner Braun,
Yes.
Coyne,
No.
Gaines,
Yes.
McCourt,
Yes.
Mitchell.
Yes.
Okay, so we're moving on to 7C of old business, discuss addition of skate equipment to Ridgeville Park Court. This item is listed as being Mitchell's and my item. So as long as it is okay with Commissioner Mitchell, I would move that we table this as well. Again, at the governor's recommendation that we table non-essential business. I'm deeming this non-essential, to be clear, for the purpose of voting on this tabling, because we are heading into the season where the skate equipment is not in the park. We've already discussed in the context of the budget some ideas for skating equipment and what we're going to do into the next warm weather season. We've also already heard from Brian Rosinski in his report about a meeting that took place and discussion about skating equipment. So unless I'm missing something, I don't think we even have anything new to add here, but you can weigh in now for us, Commissioner Mitchell.
So are you moving to table it?
Yes.
Right. Is there a
But
second?
it's listed with both of our names, so I wanted to give you the opportunity to agree or disagree with tabling.
Sure, I'm fine with tabling it.
Okay. Would you like that to be a second on the motion, or would somebody else like to make a second?
I'll second it. McCourt.
Any discussion on the tabling of agenda item 7C? Okay, Julie, if you wouldn't mind roll calling the vote.
Braun, Debbie Braun,
Yes, sorry.
it's okay. Coyne,
No.
Gaines,
Yes.
McCourt,
Yes.
Mitchell.
Yes.
Okay, that brings us to the new business section of the agenda. The first point there is discuss the request for horseshoe pits at parks. I have a bit of understanding of what's going on here after talking to Debbie briefly, after talking to Brian, but I might not have all of the info. So, you know, I'll turn this over to you, Mitchell, if you have a quick update, or if you feel this is essential business, because even if it's not.
Sure, I'll just give a quick update. A Ridgeville resident, Mr. Tan, reached out to the Park District. I've been in communication with him as well as Brian. He has some good ideas about perhaps getting a horseshoe pit. He seems to know a lot about it. Brian has a meeting set with him for Monday morning. I may or may not attend, may or may not be in person or on the computer. But I think after we meet with Mr. Tan, we'll have a better idea of what he thinks going forward. And then we can open up the discussion further.
Okay, and Brian, I understood from you that you're going to be speaking to him, but that discussion has not taken place yet. Is that correct?
Right, we tried to meet a few times and it didn't, either his schedule or mine didn't work out. So we are scheduled now 10 o'clock Monday morning, have a conversation, just gather details, more or less what he's thinking, what parks. And I'm going to ask several questions about horseshoe pits and sizes and things of that nature. So that's where it sits. Matt was right.
Okay. Is there anything additional, or are we moving on?
Nothing additional.
Okay, so moving on to discuss Zoom protocols for board meetings. And this is McCourt's agenda item, so I will turn it over to you, Pat.
Thank you. McCourt, I thought it would be appropriate to have a conversation about our protocol for Zoom meetings. I think it's important that we're all in the meeting and on the screen through the meeting. That hasn't always been the case, so I wanted to propose adopting a rule for the Ridgeville Park District that will require commissioners to be on video for all votes. And the commissioners must be on video at least 90% of the meeting to be considered attending the meeting for their vote to be counted. I think if there's any visitors that are meeting with us, while they don't need to be visible, I think it's important for us to be visible so that they know who we are, what we're doing. And I think it's just a better approach to holding a video meeting, basically. We're all in the same room when we have an in-person meeting. We're not outside, maybe in the meeting, maybe not. So I would just like us all to be on the same page on this for future meetings. So that was a motion. If Julie caught it, then I'd be happy to listen to Charlie if he had any comments on that, or any board members.
Yeah, briefly, I wasn't aware you were going to make this motion. And after hearing it, I want to review the governor's order permitting the meeting to take place through video conferencing to see whether he had any requirements. And because obviously if he had requirements and this is contrary to that, we can't do it.
Sure.
So I just want to review that order before I can comment on whether we can do this or not.
Okay.
Okay, so, Brian? Yeah, Debbie, go ahead.
So do we put this on the agenda for next time? Is that how we do this?
Yeah, let's keep it on, if you don't mind, have it on the agenda for next month with an opinion from Charles.
Okay,
Thank you.
no problem.
Okay, I guess we can wait and have any discussion Natalie?
Just a quick question. Should I put it on the agenda as for action for next month, since it sounds like you want to vote on something? Okay, thank you.
So I was just saying that we'll plan to have discussion on it after we hear from Charlie, unless you want any other input now, Pat.
Not necessary. Next month
Okay.
is fine.
Okay. So we'll move on then to point C, discuss and approve delegates for the IUPD annual business meeting.
Before you move on, I just want to be clear. So what you want is the essentials are that the commissioner be on video when he votes or she votes, he or she, and that they participate on video at least 90% of the meeting.
Yes, to be considered attending the meeting. And for their vote to count.
Okay.
Pat, just so you know, I was hearing feedback just now from you. I could still understand what you were saying, but there was some feedback. I don't know if there's anything that can be done about that. I don't know if anyone else heard it either.
I don't know. I don't have any noise where I am right here.
Okay, it sounds fine now.
Okay.
Okay, so I was on point C, discuss and approve delegates for the IUPD annual business meeting, and Brian can tell us what's going on with that.
Yeah, this is standard business every year for the IAPD convention, which is usually live in downtown at the Hyatt, but it's going to be a virtual. And anyways, generally speaking, our corporate secretary is our delegate, and I am the first alternate. And it would just be voting on standard Illinois Association of Park District business So if there's no questions or problems with that, that's what I would need to be approved. That Natalie would be the delegate, I would be the first alternate.
This is Coyne, I so move.
Mitchell seconds.
Julie, would you like to roll call vote for us?
Ron,
Yes.
Coyne,
Yes.
Haynes,
Yes.
McCourt,
Yes.
Mitchell.
Yes.
Okay, and the final point in new business is a motion to appoint Abigail. And Natalie, tell me again how we pronounce her last name.
Lavelle.
Lavelle, okay, as our authorized IMRF agent. And Brian, is there anything we need to hear from you about on this point, or?
Just basically, our office manager / account manager has always been our authorized IMRF agent, and that is now Abigail. So when we need to do IMRF business, like pay the next bill, Abigail needs to be that person. Jessica is no longer here. So
Okay.
I have form filled out. We send it in, and she will need to register and get a new user ID and IMRF for IMRF employer access. So that's basically all you're doing.
Okay.
Make a motion to appoint Abigail Lavelle to be the authorized IMRF agent for Ridgeville.
Mitchell seconds.
Roll call vote. Ron,
Yes.
Coyne,
Yes.
Haynes,
Yes.
McCourt,
Yes.
and Mitchell.
Yes.
Thanks, Julie. So that's it at this point, and we just have a call of the commissioners. So if anyone wants to say anything additional, now's the time, and I'll go alphabetically. So Commissioner Braun,
No.
okay. Commissioner Coyne,
Yes. Our community lost one of our own through violence this week. A young man by the name of Boss, who shot hoops and was a wonderful community member. And I just want to voice our grief over such violence that's not necessary, and the loss, of course. And so our hearts go out to the family and friends of Boss. Also, I just want to state that on a political front with our board, I find it saddening that we use the cover of delay after delay, month after month, for one of the equitable policies in the park district that we wanted, which was revising our park district protocols and also our barbecue protocol. But that's how politics works. But it certainly saddens my heart that our board has done this for so long.
Debbie, did you raise your hand?
Yeah, can a person decide that they want to say something?
Sure.
Okay, I would just like to say that I don't think it has to do with equity. And I think that we throw this business around a lot. I think if we had Dr. Effiam here talking to us, I think these issues of why we've tabled this don't have anything to do with equity. And I'm really want that to be heard. Thank you.
Thanks, Debbie. So we are moving on in call of the commissioners to myself, and I will pass. Commissioner McCourt.
No comment.
Okay. Commissioner Mitchell.
Just wanted to echo Dan's sentiments regarding our thoughts and prayers to Ryan Boss, friends and family. It's a tragic loss for our entire community. Thank you.
All right, so we
Martha,
have a,
Martha, can
Yeah.
I just say something about
Sure.
Ryan? I know it's called a commissioners, but Ryan comes from a great historic Evanston family. I did not know the young man. I watched him play hoops. I know his grandfather who passed a while back, Coach Bost from Evanston High School. Anyways, I just wanted to echo what Matt and Ryan said, or what Matt and Dan said, that it's sad, it's very sad, and he was a wonderful young man by all accounts, and his family is a great Evanston family.
Thanks, Brian. So we are moving into another citizen comments section of the meeting. I don't know if anyone has joined us who would like to speak, but if you would like to, now is the time. Okay, it doesn't seem to be that we have any additional citizen comments. So this is Gaines. I would move that we adjourn.
McCourt, seconds.
Roll call vote. Braun,
Yes.
Coin,
Yes.
Gaines,
Yes.
McCourt,
Yes.
and Mitchell.
Yes.
All right. Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks,
Mhm.
Martha.
Everybody have a great Thanksgiving. Be safe.